Missouri's flagship university has named a new permanent chancellor. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Ray.
And I'm Brittany Pieper. Alexander Cartwright will become the new MU chancellor on August 1st. KOMU8's James Packard was there today as Cartwright was introduced and joins us live on campus with how the new chancellor plans to change education at MU.
Well, Brittany and Jim, this university's leadership and direction has been a little bit of a question mark ever since the fall 2015 protests pushed out the top two leaders here. But today, Alexander Cartwright gave us an idea of how he wants to move this university forward. Cartwright comes from the State University of New York, where he's been serving as an executive vice chancellor and provost since September 2014. When he shows up at MU, he'll have plenty to worry about, namely the budget. That means tuition hikes, job cuts, and a budget slash. But he has an idea of how he wants to focus this school's academics. He wants to use more online, peer-reviewed resources and be more open to personalizing education.
I see a lot in the literature where people talk about students being college ready, but I think we need to spend much more time talking about institutions being student ready.
Cartwright will make $485,000 a year as chancellor. He'll also have a $15,000 car stipend and a $25,000 a year incentive package to be paid after 5 years if he decides to stay that long. Now, Provost Garnett Stokes will continue to serve as interim chancellor until Cartwright takes over on August 1st. For now, reporting live on the MU campus, James Packard, KOMU8 News.
Today, both sides rested their cases in the trial of Sergei Kamerzan. He faces a second-degree murder charge for the death of Highway Patrol Trooper James Bava. Bava was killed in August of 2015 while chasing Kamerzan for speeding and crashing his patrol car on Route FF in Audrain County. During witness testimony today, it was revealed Bava was driving about 140 miles an hour when he crashed. Kamerzan's legal team argues he was not aware Bava was chasing him. State prosecution disagrees. The jury will return tomorrow for closing arguments.
Columbia's police chief is speaking out about a fatal police-involved shooting on Saturday, May 13th. Clarence Coates was killed in a shootout near downtown. Chief Ken Burton says it was an active shooter situation and nothing more.
I think there are some people in the community that are trying to make this a racial issue, and it's simply not. What I will say about this incident is that it was an active shooter. Google active shooter, and it'll tell you what kind of situation we had out there. To my knowledge, there have been no other situations like that in the city of Columbia.
The Missouri State Highway Patrol is investigating the shooting.
Columbia police took a Battle High School student into custody yesterday after an alleged threat made against the school. The resource officer learned Monday of a rumor about a school shooting on the last day of school, which is tomorrow. Police investigated, then arrested a 15-year-old student. Officers will be at Battle High School tomorrow. Moberly will no longer use a gas chamber to euthanize animals. KOMU8's Evan Locknett is here in the studio to tell us why Moberly voluntarily shut down the chamber and reaction from the U.S. Humane Society.
In exchange for destroying the gas chamber, the city is receiving grant funds from the Humane Society of the United States for training, supplies, and tools to take care of animals. The Humane Society reached out to Moberly a few years ago about the gas chamber, but the city just recently asked if the funding was still available. Moberly now works with a veterinarian to euthanize through injection. The Missouri State Director for the Humane Society says the use of gas chambers is inhumane. She says it can take minutes for an animal to lose consciousness while in a gas chamber compared to just 3 or 5 seconds through injection.
If the machine itself is old or is not utilized properly, which often happens in some of these more rural areas where they don't have the funding to update their equipment, then it makes the situation even worse.
Missouri is one of only 4 states in the country where gas chambers are still known to be used to euthanize animals. Reporting live in the studio, Evan Locknett, KOMU8 News.
Governor Greitens signed a law allowing ride-sharing services to operate statewide last month, but 4 Missouri cities have offered similar services for years now, including Columbia.
Tonight, Target 8 Chief Investigator Jamie Gray has details on Uber's influence on alcohol-related incidents.
The Uber app is a safe alternative for people who might have had a little too much to drink, but what does Uber really mean for DUI and drunk driving crashes in Columbia? KOMU8's Emma Reckenberg collected years of arrest and crash data to find out.
23-year-old Zach Walther gives Uber 5 stars.
It's all on my phone. I don't have to worry about finding rides or dealing with, finding taxis or getting any sort of public transit.
Walther says the ride-sharing app is convenient, especially when he wants to grab drinks with friends.
If you've been drinking, you don't have to worry about what you're going to do. You can just go out and have a good time and know that you've got a safe way to get home.
A recent study out of Western Carolina University finds ride-sharing apps could reduce alcohol-related driving arrests by up to 51%. Representative Kirk Matthews supports these services, saying in a previous interview with KOMU 8 News, the new statewide ride-sharing law aims to increase public safety.
In other states where these regulations have been enacted, drunk driving arrests have fallen because we want to make it easy for someone who's maybe had a little bit too much to drink to just open their app and get a ride home rather than try to get behind the wheel of their car.
Uber has operated in Columbia since 2014. But according to MoDOT numbers, alcohol-involved crash data from 2010 to present day does not show a major difference before and after Uber's arrival.
Trend-wise with Columbia in general, it's stayed roughly the same as far as fatalities and serious or disabling injury crashes. Statewide, it's been quite a bit of a reduction, but in Columbia itself, it looks like it's stayed relatively the same.
Jones says Uber's impact is too early to tell. However, when looking at the number of DUI arrests in Columbia from 2010 to present, there are fewer arrests on average after 2014. In a statement to KOMU 8 News, one CPD public information officer wrote, quote, "I would not be able to speculate on whether or not the decrease is because of Uber," end quote. While Uber's role is unclear in Columbia DUI data, Jones points out the number of statewide alcohol-related crashes is less than in years prior.
We are for 2016 at 947 fatalities, and even though that's been going up, our number of impaired driving-related crashes have been going down.
Here's a look at the data of statewide alcohol-related fatal and serious injury crashes. In 2010, 902. In 2016, 680. Jones says the decrease is due in part to statewide programs and increased awareness.
We have put quite a bit of resources into, both educating drivers and the motoring public on the dangers of whether alcohol or drug-impaired driving.
Resources which emphasize finding a safe way to arrive alive. Emma Reckenberg, KOMU 8 News, Columbia.
Now, coming up tonight at 10, we continue our in-depth reporting on ride-sharing services. One of our reporters spent months background checking hundreds of Columbia Uber drivers to see if they meet safety standards. We'll have those results tonight at 10.
Lawmakers are still in a special session called by the governor to discuss the steel mill bill. Today, the House passed its version. The bill would allow Ameren to negotiate and charge manufacturers less for electricity, which would help bring a steel mill to southeast Missouri. The sponsor says it could create 24,000 jobs, but the House Budget Chairman is concerned about the extra cost, $150 million. The bill goes to the Senate next. Well, we saw a mix of sunshine and a few rain showers out there, but as we head toward Memorial Day weekend, let's find out what it'll look like. Hey, Kenton.
Kenton, thanks. New numbers from the House Republicans' health care bill. We'll hear from both sides.
Plus, new questions continue to arise as the investigation into the Manchester Arena bombing unfolds.
But otherwise, dry and sunny.
Okay, thanks, Kenton.
Yeah.
New developments in the Manchester, England suicide bombing.
The latest updates later in the newscast. $23 million more Americans will be insured by 2026 under a Republican House health care bill that would repeal and replace Obamacare. That's according to a new report released today by the Congressional Budget Office. It estimates the health care legislation would cut the national deficit by more than $100 billion as compared to the current plan. Democratic and Republican senators were quick to comment on the numbers.
It lowers the deficit mainly because they want a huge tax break for rich people, and then they dramatically slash Medicaid, they dramatically slash the ability of people to pay.
But obviously this is not a finished product. This is another look by CBO. We've got another look from CBO when we rewrite ours, and then we'll have actuaries that will step in. So this is part of the process. This is not a finished product. This is part of the journey.
The projections are expected to serve as a starting point for Senate Republicans currently writing their own version of the health care bill.
Here's what's happening right now. New information and arrests are still unfolding in the aftermath of the Manchester Arena suicide bombing that killed 22 people on Monday. 7 people, 6 men and 1 woman, have been arrested in connection to that bombing. The older brother of the alleged bomber, Salman Abedi, was also arrested in Libya. KOMU 8 spoke with MU students studying abroad in the city. They say windows are filled with posters saying things like, "I love Manchester." Student Tiffany Brooks says local media in Manchester has been full of stories about how people helped after the attack.
And then there was another man. He was begging, a homeless man begging outside of the concert. When the blast happened, he actually ran to go and help everyone.
Brooks said she and other students got an email from the U.S. Embassy warning them to avoid crowded areas this week.
A win over nationally ranked LSU would sure help the Missouri baseball team's tournament resume. We've got highlights next in sports. Coming up on KOMU 8 News at 10 o'clock, our Target 8 investigative team background checked hundreds of Columbia Uber drivers.
We'll have results and what you should know about the rideshare company background checks tonight at 10. Kenton?
We're going to have some patchy fog out there tomorrow morning. Otherwise, temperatures right around 50 degrees there. We're looking at mostly sunny skies, almost abundantly sunny at a few points. 75 in the afternoon as we start a warming trend into the holiday weekend. 82 on Friday with mostly to partly cloudy skies throughout the day. An isolated shower or thunderstorm possible, but we're going to be having a mostly dry day there. On Saturday, though, by our late afternoon and evening, showers and thunderstorms likely to move back into the region, especially along and south of I-70, where we could be dealing with damaging winds and large hail with any storm that gets strong to severe. So we'll track in that here. Stay tuned with us on that. Otherwise, we're back into the 70s Sunday and through the rest of pretty much next week for seasonal or slightly below seasonal temperatures.
All right. What's up next for Missouri baseball?
They play South Carolina tomorrow afternoon. If they lose, they're done.
Right.
If they win, they keep their faint hopes alive of a national tournament bid.
All right. That's our time for now. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great night.